The cost of living crisis has led to more and more of us choosing to staycation here in the UK. But it's a trend that's driving up property prices along the coast and forcing some locals to find a home elsewhere. It's an issue that could sway voters at the polls, as our political correspondent Serena Barker-Singh now reports.
Down the beach every day with my dog, when they're running around playing in the sea or jumping around in the sand dunes. It's a really wholesome way of life.
Every day is a fight for Emma to stay in North Devon, where she's lived for most of her life. Short-term holiday lets have soared since the pandemic, she says, thinning out the housing stock.
The short-term let situation is really beginning to push local people out because many people in this area are actually on the minimum wage. And if you work out somebody's income on a minimum wage and then what the actual rental prices are, they just don't match up at all.
UK coastal tourist hotspots boomed after the pandemic, injecting cash into the economy and attracting more permanent residents too. The southwest now has the highest concentration of holiday homes in England.
So do you like that it's a touristy part of the world?
I do, actually, I do, because you get, in the summer it's a lot busier, but then also in the winter it can be a bit smaller.
There's a shortage of local housing for local people. And on the other hand, it helps the tourist industry and encourages people to come here.
When Charlotte's tenancy ended, she struggled to find anything within her budget in her hometown of Barnstaple. Now relying on support from the council, she's found temporary accommodation, but miles away from her friends and family.
Do you think local people are bearing the brunt of this problem?
Yeah. People renting out and obviously doing B&Bs and hotels and stuff like that when there's people in the local area that are trying to find a home for their family and to be close to their own.
She says she now can't afford to drive to her job. The fuel cost has doubled. She's now stuck in limbo.
We've had to try and unpack everything.
Do you think, is it hard to imagine having a permanent home in the future? Do you see that on the horizon?
Not at the moment. Everyone's saying to hold out and hopefully you'll find somewhere, but until you're in this situation, you don't know for yourself what it's really like.
The government is consulting on a registration scheme and ways to give councils more control, supported by local MPs.
Would you like to see them, for example, have caps on the amount of short-term lets in Devon?
If you can prove in a particular area there's a problem, there should be a limit to the amount of homes that can register as holiday lets in a certain area.
Do you think the central government is helping you in East Devon? Do you think these measures have come too late?
I think the national government is coming my way, actually. When we look at what they've done with regards to council tax, we look at what they're doing with the registration scheme, which is coming soon, and I'm working with them on that. We're going in the right direction. I wish it was quicker, but I always wish things were quicker.
Housing is set to play a major issue at the next general election. In fact, researchers have outlined 108 constituencies along the UK coast that a majority are held by the Tories, and they think they're vulnerable to changing hands in the next general election based on housing alone. It's what they're calling the sea wall. Devon is a prime example where pressures on social housing have never been more acute.
For voters like Emma, the cost of living crisis has also hit hard. A potent mix that could turn the tide in deep blue seats. Serena Barker-Singh, Sky News in Devon.
A passenger plane has been forced to make an emergency landing in the United States after part of the fuselage and a window blew out mid-flight. The Boeing plane operated by Alaska Airlines turned back minutes into its flight to California, with all 177 passengers and crew on board returned safely. The airline said it would temporarily ground all 65 of its 737 MAX 9 aircraft to conduct inspections. And this evening, United Airlines announced it has removed some MAX 9 aircraft from service. Well, joining me now from Dallas is aviation expert Richard Levy. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on the program. So you've seen the pictures, you'll have known the details around it. What do you make of it?
Hi, Barbara. Good evening to you in London. The 737-9 airplane is a wonderful airplane. What happened was a fuselage plug is what came loose on the Alaska Airlines 737-9 airplane. By the way, the grounding by the United States Federal Aviation Administration does not affect the other MAX airplanes, the MAX 8 and the MAX 10. any event, why was the fuselage plug there? You could not see it if you're inside the airplane. You're looking right now at the airplane. You're looking at the hole. If you're walking around the airplane from the exterior, you could see the outline of this plug. What's the reason for the plug? Some operators have a different and a larger seating configuration, Barbara. And if Alaska had purchased that configuration, they would have actually put a door there, a emergency exit door, perhaps, to comply with federal regulations. Alaska chose not to have a door put there. It's the same as when you order a car. You order options. Alaska did not choose the option. The plug was there, which is the size of about your refrigerator at home, Barbara. And so for some reason, the fuselage plug became loose. There's a tremendous amount of air pressure inside the airplane so we can breathe. It's called a pressurized airplane. The plug came loose, went out of the airplane, and then there was an explosive decompression.
Forgive me for interrupting you. How unexpected or surprising, or how strange is it? We see that United Airlines this evening has removed some of their MAX 9 aircraft. I mean, ultimately, you have flown hours, I think 30,000 hours in 727, 757, 777. Would you fly a 737 MAX 9 now? Would you feel safe?
100%, with a footnote, Barbara. It's going to take 4 to 8 hours to inspect every Dash 9 airplane. After that, it's like going to a checkup with a doctor, ready to go, safe as can be. The 737, I teach on it right now, and it is a fine airplane, and this will be resolved, 100%.
The door was blown away, I think, just after takeoff, and actually it took them 19 minutes from when the door was blown out to the fuselage was blown out to when they landed. 19 minutes isn't very much, and I'm assuming they weren't at too high an altitude. How different would things have been if the plane had been, I don't know, half an hour into its flight and at higher altitude?
Little difference at all. Again, you have a differential pressure between inside the cabin so we can breathe and outside at the high altitude. They were fortunately only at 16,000 feet. They exercised emergency descent, which I happened to do today in the simulator in training. If they had been at 35,000, 37,000, they'll be down to 10,000 feet in a matter of minutes. The pilots will breathe oxygen, passengers will have their emergency oxygen, and everybody will be safe.
Okay, final question, 30 seconds. If any of us were unlucky enough to find ourselves in a plane where something similar were to happen, what should we do, apart from obviously, buckle up the seatbelt?
Number one, buckle up. Absolutely. And number two, when the oxygen mask comes out of the ceiling, put it around your face. And as they say, if you have children with you, help the child out first and then take care of yourself and breathe. And you'll be perfectly fine, Barbara.
Well, let's hope we never have to find out, any of us. Richard Levy, aviation expert, speaking to us from Dallas. Sir, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Good night to you.